Welcome to Burn the Ship. This is the podcast where we connect entrepreneurs with professionals that can help you go all in on your business. We talk to people that have walked the walk, talked the talk, been through all the things that we experience as small business owners, and come out the other side willing to share those experiences with us so that we can run our businesses more effectively. So thank you very much for joining the call. The time, both for myself and for my audience, it does mean a lot to me and for the people listening. So I appreciate your willingness to share and to let us learn from your experiences. But why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
Yeah, thanks for that. I appreciate having me on your show. My name is Dan Hayes. My company is Luxury Mountain Pool and Spa out of Idaho Falls, Idaho. We build custom pools and spas. We also install fiberglass pools, and we work with some other suppliers that manufacture stainless steel and copper spas,
Oh, wow.
and we install those too.
So tell me this. I think that one of the most interesting things about your industry, well, let me take it back. So for people running businesses without a huge barrier to entry, I think that it's pretty easy for people to draw a parallel line to how do you go from normal everyday person being an employee working a normal everyday job and then, to, you're owning a pressure washing company or you're owning a landscaping company. But the barrier to entry in your industry feels so high. It feels like almost a non-starter for most people because how do you get the business? How do you, float your overhead? How do you get money for costs of materials and labor? So tell me kind of your story, how you got into doing what you're doing and how you got into it from the point of reference of if someone else is trying to go do the same thing, maybe they know about the industry or they have the technical skills, but how do you break into something that from the outside looking in from someone that doesn't know a ton about your industry outside of the area that I am kind of an expert in, which is the pavement side of things. I mean, it's the only thing I've done for 10 years, but tell me that how do you get into something like you're doing now, and really what's your story? What made you make the decision that you made to get into the industry that you're in?
Yeah. Well, I don't know that I broke into an industry. I more like fell into the industry. I started out my career when I was 18 years old, working for someone in our community, people that we knew, where we grew up in Southern California, installing automatic swimming pool covers. So I started out there just as a helper, dragging the tool bag around and learning what I could from the other guys that knew what they were doing. And over the course of a couple of years, I had enough ambition that I didn't want to be a helper. I wanted to learn as much as I could. And so I just kept going back to the owner and said, okay, what do I need to learn now? What do I need to learn now? And ultimately, I became a lead installer or a lead technician. And as his company was expanding, I took the opportunity to offer my services to help expand into doing sales for him as well. So even though we were based in San Diego, I started handling sales and helped him grow his business just as in my early 20s from LA to Palm Springs and went from there. And then when I felt like I had topped out doing as much as I could do there, and then also wanted to buy a home in the bad economy in California, I looked at the manufacturer, working for the manufacturer, which was based out of Utah. So I called up the manufacturer of the automatic pool covers, and they basically hired me over the phone and moved me up within a month. And
Wow.
yeah, then after that, it was my first office job. So I got a little stir crazy in the office, and during the recession of 2008, we had to take some furlough days, and so I took that opportunity to call up one of our other dealers, pool cover dealers, and worked for them for a week. And that proved to the company, it built the relationship with the manufacturer and the dealer so stronger, they decided to create a position for that for me.
So
And
just
so
kind of
I
handling the relationships between the manufacturer and the companies that are actually purchasing from the man. You're kind of that
correct.
relationship broker.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, it did so well for the relationship that they decided to have me do more of that. And then ultimately, I became kind of an outside technical salesperson for the manufacturer. So, so because of my knowledge on the installation side, and then working for the corporate side, I was a very good asset to them. And to make a long story short, over the course of from 2010 to 2014, uh, it was such a growth segment for the entire corporation that they hired more guys like me to do that job. And ultimately, I got burnt out doing that too, and felt like I had topped myself off there. And I thought, well, what else do I need to do? And that's when I started to build pools. I went to work for one of our customers and started building pools for them as their construction manager.
So, and that was, you said that was 20, what, 14, 15?
Yeah, about 2014, 2015, I went to work for one of our customers that was a pool builder. I started managing their construction department, and we quadrupled that construction department over 4 years, and it became his highest profit. Um, it became 60% of their company's profit, and they also had service and retail that was bigger than construction when we started there. Um, and then they were kind of good old boys. It gave me an opportunity to teach myself the construction side, but I could see that they were still kind of good old boys, didn't want to do things the best practices way, and so I went to work for another company that was building really high end stuff and really matched my goals and mentality of what I wanted to do. Uh, and then in let's see, 2020. So I worked for another company for 2 more years, and in 2020, I was getting so much feedback from people in my area that knew me that I decided it was time for me to start my own business at that point.
Where did you land on Idaho Falls?
So when I worked for the automatic pool cover manufacturer, I was traveling like 48 weeks a year
Oh, wow.
doing training. I mean,
It,
that's
mostly on the west or everywhere?
so I was the first guy doing it. So it started out as everywhere,
Oh,
and
wow.
I mean the entire country. Internationally, I've been several countries internationally. Once they hired a second person, it was more like Mississippi West,
Mm,
and then international. Um, and they hired a couple more people to help on the East Coast because it's a little more dense population.
sure.
So I still handled the West Coast, and so yeah, I just got burnt out of 48 weeks a year travel and doing
Sure.
the same thing over and over.
Sure. And so, 4 years of pool building and then 20, somewhere around COVID. Is that when you transitioned to the place that was building really high end pools or?
Right before COVID is when I transitioned to building some really high end
Yeah.
pools.
Which didn't hurt your industry. I mean, COVID didn't slow things down on you guys, and from what I understand.
No, amazingly enough, you wouldn't think so, but COVID actually was really, really good for the pool industry.
Yeah.
Well, it was good and it was bad. We went from pre-COVID pool construction nationally was about 84,000 pools a year, and during COVID, it went up to about 124,000 pools per year. The hot tub industry um, boomed.
Mm,
I think it tripled during COVID, but at the same time, we had a high demand in for pools and spas, but then we also had some struggles getting equipment and materials because of
sure.
COVID and shipping and all that stuff. So it was kind of a perfect storm, but we made it through. And
How long did you specifically work with that company that was building the really high end stuff throughout the COVID process?
so I started working for them in 2019, and I broke off in 2020. So it was about a year and a half.
Nice.
Um,
Do you find people? So let's give you this example, and I really don't know. I've been out of. All I did was work with my hands previous to doing being in the industry that I'm in now, right? And that was through college, through being an athlete, through before high school, like everything that I knew that I was able to acquire trades and craftsmanship wise was just one based off of logic, and two based off of being around people that knew that I really didn't have any inclination to be in that industry or to compete with them, but they would teach me how to do my job and not necessarily the ins and outs of the way that their whole business was operating.
Mhm.
And do you find that because your industry has such a high barrier of entry to people, you have to amass such a large amount of information, and you have to be through that process so many times that people in the industry that you are in and industries like yours are more willing to share that information with people that are investing in learning that industry from a helper, technician, installer point of view?
Um, you know, I would, as an employee, I always had the mentality of like, hey, I want to run this place someday, or I want to own this company someday, buy it from the previous owner. And so I always had that ambition to try to learn as much as I could. But yeah, as far as the business side, unless you're in an administrative position or really close with those people making those decisions, you don't see and you don't learn a lot of that. And I think that's what took me so long to finally pull the trigger and have the guts to start my own job, is because I felt like I still needed to learn more and more and more and more.
Sure.
And ultimately, I just said, the heck with it. I'm just jumping in both feet, and we'll have to learn as we go. And rather than do everything myself, I took the stance of like, I've seen people try to do things themselves and they struggle. And I said, you know what? As I can afford it, I'll just hire the people,
All right.
right person for the right job. So I don't manage my books. I have a bookkeeper manage my books, and I have tax people, and I just hired a project manager who
Oh,
can
nice.
manage my office, because where we are, I can't find and hire skilled pool people.
Yeah.
So
I think
I
that's
have
probably
to
pretty
train them.
similar to where I am too in Atlanta, to be honest. I mean, we do the marketing right now for one pool company in Atlanta and a couple of people that are like large restoration companies, decks, fences type of companies, roofing companies, some things like that with the video production side of things, and hired an engineer and a producer and editor and all those things. So as we onboard those people as clients, or as they go through like the process of being in our network, they talk marketing, video, all of those things. So it's very interesting to me to see someone that's been in the industry for a year, or been in the industry for 10 years, or been in the industry for 30 years, their differences in perspective on what is valuable to them, because what you would think is not always true. Like the 70-year-old owner of a pool company that's owned it for 30 years may be the guy that invests in video marketing way before the 30-year-old. It's very everybody's just kind of different. Everybody just looks and thinks about things in a different way. But tell me this, describe to me the experience of diving, jumping in both feet first, right? Like what was kind of your perspective on that? Was it freeing to be, your own thing? You're deciding how things go. You're deciding the type of projects that you're taking. You're deciding the type of creative energy that you're putting into those things? Or was it more nerve-wracking and stressful to not, to feel like you don't know what you don't know? To feel like you can't see the things that are slipping through the cracks or don't fit in your skill set that you've acquired in being in this industry for 15 years.
Right. I've been lucky and been able to meet enough people networking wise that I knew that I could always pick up the phone and call somebody and ask a question, and can't be afraid to do that. Um, Jumping in both feet and the stress. Everyone asks me like, man, you glad you have your own company and stuff? It's like, well, I'm still freaking stressed out just as much as I was when I was trying to run other people's companies. But now it's my stress,
Right.
and hopefully it pays off. Whereas when I was feeling that stress working for other people, that stress was never going away.
100%.
Yep. And so I wouldn't say that it stressed me out or scared me. I was definitely nervous about what I didn't know, but it's like, what else are you going to do? you know?
I agree with you, and the reason is because I kind of equate it to kids. Like I have an 8-year-old and a 2-year-old, and my 2-year-old was jumping off of the very top of my recliner yesterday into a half inflated air mattress so that she could launch her toys across my house, right? And my friends' kids or my niece or anybody comes to my house, I feel like I need to wrap them in bubble wrap. You know what I mean? I feel like I am so nervous about what could happen to those people. So, like, I know that my own kids, and it's not like I have a different proclivity to protecting my own kids, but I know what they've learned and I know what their habits are, and I know that they're weirdly, freakishly athletic and coordinated to be 2 and 8. And I also know that I am okay with being responsible should something happen to my kids because I am comfortable enough with their decisions and athletic ability that it genuinely has to be something crazy out of the ordinary for something super bad to happen. So like I equate that to business a lot too, is like there's just a different it's almost like there needs to be two different words for your own stress and other people's stress. You know what I mean? You
Right.
put a different weight in managing other people's stuff because you, like me, learned from your parents and whoever else that you don't want to walk around the world being the guy that made somebody else's journey harder. You know what I mean? But the willingness to take risks and to work really hard and to figure out a way around things when it's your own thing, I think is just a different level of impulse.
Yeah.
My impulse to throw my kid in the pool so that they learn how to swim and quit being scared of the water is a lot higher than my impulse to throw my niece into the pool. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it's not my thing to stress out. It's not my thing to make mistakes soon. It's not my toy for learning. You know what I mean? And for some people, I think that there is a huge amount of power in taking that leap and becoming your own entrepreneur, because it becomes this ball of Play-Doh that you get to make whatever shape you want. You may
Yeah.
hate the shape at the end, but I think that most of the time you would be pleasantly surprised at how much you love the outcome when you put your time and effort and energy into something like that. So that's a long-winded way to say that I think that there are things that you will not learn until you put that owner operator hat on. No matter, in a lot of industries, no matter how long you've been in that industry. So I think that there's things that you have to do that really push you over the edge of thinking like an entrepreneur. And obviously, you guys have achieved that. So what is that? What's that experience been like? You jumped in 2 feet. What's been really easy? What's been the thing that was just bread and butter? We get to put this thing into the process, and we're really, really good at it because you know it like the back of your hand. And then, like, what was difficult? What was that thing that you couldn't foresee if you could go back in time and tell yourself before you jumped in, hey, maybe think about this a little bit because it'll pay dividends in the long run.
Yeah. What I didn't see was how quickly it was going to take off for me. And luckily I had had enough insight seeing other people's businesses to know that before I went too far, I needed to have some infrastructure put
Right.
in place. And you know, the first company I worked for, man, they would have me build pools off of a napkin sketch,
Mm.
and we were very unregulated, so we were able to get away with stuff like that. But that's a terrible way to try to scale your business. You couldn't do
Right.
that. And so we got some business management software where we can manage our leads and calls and CRM and just the whole job process. But man, when the work hit, before I could fully get that program utilized, we were just so busy. So we still had to play some catch up. But the work itself, because we knew how to do the work itself, I think that was the easy part. Um, and the hard part was just being able to maintain and do that schedule and try not to take on more than you're able to, physically able to.
Yeah, absolutely.
When those jobs start coming, you don't want to say no,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then you can get yourself in a pickle. The other thing I wasn't prepared for, was the difficult part, was managing employees.
Mm.
Even though I was a manager before, um, learning employer-employee dynamic, how to manage that, to keep people motivated, to trust people, and that can cost you.
Yeah,
And it,
absolutely.
it definitely cost me. It cost me probably $150,000 over 2 years of mistakes and redo work and poor employees. And so learning that was probably the more difficult part for us.
Yeah, and I think that that's one of those things as well that maybe it just comes with the experience. Like I've noticed that myself with managing salespeople is like my whole life, like so much of my own identity was wrapped in who I was as an athlete for 15 years. Like there was a long window of my life where I would tell you I'm going to the NBA. You know what I mean? There was a huge portion of that, and so this seesaw of life and work was always easy for me to maintain because when work, which was basketball, was too heavy, I could just do more life. Or when I wasn't doing enough work and life was doing too much, I could just do more work, and I always had this very clear relationship between life and work for me because I was already balancing those things from an athlete perspective. And I think that I seriously took for granted how many people have that perspective. I think it's a far lower percentage of people than I initially expected to be able to balance those things. So if you are kicking around the idea of being a business owner, you're going to have to learn to meet people where they are, I guess is the friendliest way to say it, is that you're going to have real life issues with people. People are going to have real life issues with their own life, and that, so there's going to have to be some give and take when it comes to mitigating those things. And it's going to cost you money. And it's another one of those things where you just have to talk to people and their experiences in those industries about how do you deal with this? How do you see this stuff in the future, and how do you mitigate it? Because it's not an easy thing, and it's not something that's just going to go away. It's not something that you can preemptively do. You can't hire people that aren't going to have life baggage later. It's just impossible to foresee. It happens to all of us. So,
And not just with employees, but with the business in general.
Right.
Having the confidence, just knowing that I'm going to make a mistake, and just having the guts to say, okay, well, I ain't turning around. I'll work through the mistake and I'll learn from it and get better. And that's what I've probably, to a fault, I've done in our case, starting a business. When we've ran into a problem on the job or a mistake, whether it was our fault or not, just said, you know what, we're gonna learn from it. We're gonna be better.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to. There's so many areas of your life that would benefit from that exact perspective. And I think that people are just terrified of applying that to their business. And I absolutely relate to that. It's very difficult. Trying to find a way to price yourself in the market, but not price yourself too low, and find the right clients, but also find more clients. Like sometimes in business, it genuinely just feels like there's no perfect answer. One of them may be better than the other, but it takes time to fill those things out and to understand exactly the way that you need to apply your time and effort and energy to make the most out of this thing. It takes real time. It takes building a relationship with your business as it grows, the same way as it does of connecting with other people, or connecting with your kids, or connecting with other parents, or whatever those things are. So tell me this, Dan, how can we support you guys as you continue to grow, as you continue to put out super high quality work and take care of your people? What is something that myself, my company, our audience can do to support you guys as your message continues to grow?
Well, I didn't really know this podcast was going on, and so I feel it's very helpful. We network with a company. We're part of a company, or an organization that has hundreds of pool builders all over the country that support each other and network with each other, and we have meetings. But having this podcast that you're doing, with people that can come on and share their experience, I think that's super helpful. So I'm definitely going to be tuning in a lot more and seeing what other people are going through and how they've overcome it. Um, so thank you.
No, thank you. That's very kind for you to say, and we are very similar. I'm in Atlanta. I'm trying to build a network of people because I have been so fortunate in my industry. My industry welcomed me with open arms, and through a recession, a pandemic, there have always been so many people willing to make introductions and connect me with people that helped our business continue to step in the right direction. And it has been refreshing and so rewarding to be in a position with my company that we try to be some of those people that give back. We want to be those people that make it easier for you guys that are listening to become the entrepreneur that you want to be. We have some 500 odd episodes of people in different industries that will tell you their stories and why you can do it too. So I really do appreciate you for being a part of that, for being a part of that story, and for being a part of some of the energy that's helping us connect with more entrepreneurs. So we will put all of the contact information down in the description of this video if you want to get in touch with the guys over at Luxury Mountain. If you want to get in touch with Dan specifically, we'll find some ways for you guys to connect that makes it easiest for you guys to kind of put those people through your process. And if there's anything else that you guys need from me, introductions or anything that I can help you guys with in general, we really, really pride ourselves in having a very deep and diverse network with really, really good relationships with those people. So that goes to the audience. That goes to you as well, Dan. And if there's anything else that you would like to say to the people, please use the platform however you see fit. Let other people know that, there is hope for them in the business world.
Yeah, no, the thing that I would regret, or my only regret so far, is that I didn't start sooner on my own, because felt like I needed to learn those lessons before I could start, but they're actually lessons that you learn by doing it. And so don't be afraid to jump in. Don't be afraid to fail. And failure is just another way that you can learn from your failures till you get it right. And even if you have competition in the area, don't look at your competition as someone that you can't learn from. Other people in your same industry, you might think they're competitors, but they're in the same industry. You can actually help each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
So don't be afraid to speak with people that are in your industry, even if you view them as a competitor.
And most people have a willingness. I genuinely believe that most people have a willingness to help other people, especially if they can relate to the situation that they're in. No one wants to see other people struggle. We help people that are in our industry. There's more than enough business to go around, and I really think that is a big impetus of this podcast, is that there is enough business. There are opportunities for you to grow, and there are people willing to make those connections for you to help you get there, that want to see you get where you want to go. So again, Dan, thank you very much for being a part of that, and for you guys that are listening. Until next time, burn the ship.